Miko, I believe this is the very first time that you, who's been on so many of these interviews, this is the first time that you are actually on the other side of the interview seat. Is that true?
Yes, super excited.
Look at this big smile on your face. So, the way that I've come to know you, Miko, is that I got an email in my inbox about 3 or 4 months ago saying that I would be a perfect interview candidate for your College to Calling Summit. And that's how we ended up getting to know one another. And I've just been so impressed by that first outreach. I get a lot of people who reach out to me. There was a certain level of precision and professionalism and intention behind that email. And then just watching your whole summit unfold, that I came to you like a couple of days ago and I said, Miko, it would be a wasted opportunity if your followers didn't have an opportunity to hear from you directly about how you decided to do this big undertaking, what you've learned from it. And I can already see just by the smile on your face that you are there's like a shine to you that's even brighter than it was a few weeks ago. So why don't we unpack this beautiful journey that you are on along with a lot of the people that you're helping to serve?
Yes, I am so ready. And thank you, Dominic, for your generosity, not only helping me by contributing your expertise and your time during my summit, and now doing this and really taking our listeners in the behind the scene work to really get to know why I did the summit and what kind of work I put into it behind the scenes. So let's dive in.
Let's dive in. Okay.
Yeah.
So one of your missions is to help people find their way from a purpose-driven path, right? From where they are to that calling. And I know, and having been a coach and being a coach myself, that so many people put so much pressure on themselves to find the perfect thing and never get started because they're just so worried about all of the things. I'm curious, what was your process that you went through to say, I'm going to do this online summit and I'm going to have the courage to reach out to all these accomplished people and make this thing happen? How did you do that?
That's a really good question, Dominic. And let me take you back in time and share a quick story with you. I feel like I was kind of born with this tenacity, that fearlessness to like go after the things that I want once I make a decision. From all the way when I was a little kid, I remember this distinctively. When I was younger, like super young, maybe in 5 or 6, back in Hong Kong, that's where I'm from. Our whole family was going to check out haunted house, and I remember standing right outside the entrance. My parents asked us like, who do you guys want to go in? And I was the first one to raise my hand without even thinking like, is it going to be scary or not? But it's funny because the moment I went in there, I went straight back out because I got afraid. But I want to share that story because I feel like I just have that drive. If I make a decision that I want to do something, I'm going to go for it. So with that being said, the reason why I decided to do this summit is because for the past 2 years or so after coming out of UC Berkeley, I was just kind of hit with this reality that my UC Berkeley diploma didn't really equal the kind of success that society or everyone around me told me that it would guarantee. I found myself working at jobs that wasn't very fulfilling. They always say like, take baby step, do entry-level jobs, but I was not satisfied. I want exponential growth. I want to unleash my gift right here, right now. I didn't want to wait 10 years in order to move up a little bit at a time. So I wasn't fulfilled at the jobs that I could find. I was not getting paid enough for what I believe is my value. And I was barely making it, taking care of myself. And the breaking point for me was really my whole family. We were immigrants from Hong Kong, so my parents don't speak any English. So ever since we came here, I was 9 when I first came into the United States. Really watching my parents break their backs, working for 12 plus hours every day, not knowing how to interact in America, it leaves a certain mark on your heart that like, this is it. I'm going to study hard in school. I'm going to get straight A's so I can help them. Yeah, I can give back to what they have sacrificed. So when I came out, and not only could I barely take care of myself, survive on a UC Berkeley diploma, I couldn't take care of my parents. If I get vulnerable here. So, the breaking point really was when I had to pay back my student loans, which was not that much, like $2,000 doable, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't pay off before they start charging me interest. So my parents, who work at below minimum wage jobs, who are breaking their backs, they had to pay that $2,000 for me. So when that came, I broke down. I was thinking to myself, okay, I did everything that society told me I needed to do to be successful, but now I'm not happy. I'm broke. I don't see a future ahead of me because I knew I didn't want to go back to grad school. So with my BA in psychology, I didn't have that many options. so I didn't know what to do. And then everything changed for me when I discovered a different way of making money. I tapped into the foreign exchange currency market, so trading foreign currency. And when I discovered that there's a whole different way of making money outside of trading time for money at a typical 9 to 5, my world just completely opened up. And that really set me down a path of personal development, really tapping into what I didn't know, opening up my mind. So that set me down like a 2 years personal development journey. And I decided to do the summit 3 months ago when I first started. Actually, I stumbled upon a coaching business company on Instagram, one of the ads with Shanda Sumter, with her hardcore business company. I went to one of the free events. I always go to free seminars like all across the country. So I went to that. Something just spoke to me. I was really in alignment with her coaching, her business coaching. But Dominic, let me tell you this, to invest into her business coaching program, it's 1 year long. I think it's like $13,000 to invest in that.
And what's her name again?
Shanda Sumter.
Okay.
Yeah, she's one of a really successful business entrepreneur that helps other entrepreneurs build their businesses online. So like in these past 2 years, like I didn't mention this, I quit my job of teaching preschool to completely go all into doing personal development, trying to learn Forex. So I'm not making any money yet. Like I'm still at this stage where I'm building the foundation up. So money is very like tight. So when I found this opportunity to invest in a mentor, a business mentor, which I knew I needed, personal development is like important, but I also need the business side of the framework to guide me to build a successful business. So it was $13,000. But I still went for it. Like I have no money to make it happen. Like my credit card limits are almost maxed out. So like,
how did you get that money? Did you max out your credit card to pay for her? Did you take a loan? How did you go and get that money?
Yeah. So actually they have a financial advisors, like people there right away that I can talk to. And I was approved for a loan. So thank God that happened, but it's the scariest feeling. Like I can still remember that day when I decided. I couldn't stop crying because I feel like I couldn't even afford groceries. I was just like, so, but like that feeling of fear is more like, I knew this is it. I knew this is the next step for me to get to like the impact that I want to share. But it's
Miko,
just that fear.
so what was it inside of you that knew that this was the right move, even when logic and reason and all these other things could have eluded you? There was something deeper inside. Like what were you listening to?
There is this deep knowing that I feel like I'm just called to do this. Like I feel like all the powerful transformation that has taken place over these past 2 years, it's not for me. It's for a bigger purpose. I feel like God, I believe in the higher power. I believe God put me on this trajectory to grow so fast so I can become that source of inspiration, that example, leading by example for other people who are also going through the same struggle. So, I was really trusting by that knowing inside of me, like, this is what I'm here to do. I'm here to impact and share my story and help people with similar experience as me, which I know there's a huge need for college kids, college graduates. They come out and they don't know what it is that they truly want, or they feel like lost, even though they have this diploma, and we can go all in about that. But basically that's what happened. And I'm so glad I made the decision. Like, it hasn't been easy running the summit, reaching out to people like you. It takes a certain level of like trust and confidence and self-belief in myself, like to even pick up the phone and call, like, hey, Dominick, can you join me on this project? Like, really have to see myself not like below all these experts, but like also be, have the same value to offer. And so that's what happened.
Yeah. And that's such a beautiful story, Miko. And this idea of, it was almost like a put up or shut up moment, right? You didn't have money to buy groceries. And then there was this $13,000 albatross hanging over you. And you said, I'm going to go do this because I could feel something bigger. And that's a really beautiful part of your story. And I do want to get to the part where you were talking about not pedestaling these people who you were bringing on your summit, because that's also really important. We'll get to that in a moment. So you've now invested the $13,000 into the coaching. And what's the time frame here? Like, where are we in 2019 when this happened? And then when did you say, I'm going to do this summit? Well, when was that like idea birthed and the decision made?
Yeah, so I decided to pay for the coaching in late August. And then actually that workshop that Shanda hosts in San Francisco, the free workshop, already like jumpstart the process of launching the summit while we were there. So I already reached out to like maybe 5 people about them participating in my summit while I was at the workshop. I've always been this way. Like, I'm this highly driven, ambitious person. Even while I was in school, always want to do the most that I can do. And, but I already reached out to 5 people while I was at the workshop. I got some response back already. So like the moment that I got back home, you know how it is when we are paying so much money we didn't have for something, like we just have to give it all in. So right when I got back home, I just dive into the modules, into the training on how to launch the summit. Like, there's no time to even think about it. Like, I pay for it, I have to do the work.
Right.
Yeah,
so before you even left, the summit was already like a done deal. It was going to happen. You'd already secured some guests for the show.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that happened all so quickly. And that's like the power of making a really decisive decision about your future. And so it sounded like there was alignment in your intuition. There was alignment in your finances. There was alignment in your action. There was alignment in your belief system. So when all of those things came together, you took inspired action. So, all right, now you're in business. And so walk us through then. Now that you're already committed and you're about to launch the summit, now you need to go out and get a bunch of other guests. And there's all the other logistics walk us through what you did there.
Yeah. So this was about, I would say it took me like 2 to 3 months before, like up until the launch day of my summit. So during these 2 to 3 months, it's so crazy how much fears and negative beliefs about myself and all these resistance that just popped up everywhere.
Like
in
what?
Yeah,
give us a specific one.
Yeah. So, it's crazy because I've always been a super happy person, and I am, even in these past 2 years, like I do truly feel genuine happiness. But in the middle of the summit, I actually fell into depression, like for maybe a week or something. It got so bad. Like, I'm never, I think the last time I had like thoughts of really like giving it all up was in sophomore year in college. Like, I haven't had those feelings for a long time. And then I don't know why it started to show up again. And I was just like losing motivation. I didn't want to do the summit anymore. I didn't believe that, I could do this or any good outcomes would come out of this, because when you're putting up like keep putting out the work but you don't really get response back, sometimes that can be very discouraging. But what really hit me the most was I started to feel like I was giving and giving and giving to like people, to friends and families. Really, I was so good at speaking up to other people, speaking the greatness into them, except for myself. Like I was giving it all to other people, while I would talk so negatively to myself in my head, like, I'm not doing this good enough. Like I need to do better. If I make a little mistake, I would like continue to just beat myself up on it. So I was starting to notice that. And I was just starting to be very resentful to everyone who came to me for support. I'll be like, I'm here struggling. And I noticed like they don't realize that I was struggling, because I always seem like this confident, happy person who doesn't need any help. And I started being resentful to them because I felt like they weren't being supportive of me when I needed finally. But then I realized from that experience that the number one person I need support from is myself. And when I turned everything around and I started to pour all the love to myself first, that's when I got my energy back, got my drive back. And another thing that really helped me was when I noticed I was very outcome driven. I kept focusing on like the numbers of likes people have on the posts I'm sharing on social media. I would get discouraged when there's no engagement. And then, so I was always very outcome driven. But then I really shifted the focus really on the person that I'm becoming. Like I know that this is a everlasting journey. I will never get this done. I'll never get it right or wrong. So I'm really just focusing on the person that I was becoming, regardless of what the outcome would be. So I started to enjoy the process more. And that was the turning point for me. Yeah.
So if you haven't been told lately, Miko, you are a badass. and I say that not because of what you've accomplished or the outcomes, but because of how openly and powerfully you share the story of like your darker moments. And I think it's very important for people to understand how such powerful people like you can have those moments, because it can give other people, it can allow other people to be seen, right? Who feel like they're the only ones dealing with it. And also, I know from my own, as you were sharing, so much of stuff was kicking up for me in my own way that I treat myself. And seeing that it's not uncommon to go to your darkest places when you're going for that next level. Right. And like you were really pushing an edge, your money was at stake, and you invested everything, right? Like financially and emotionally and energetically. And when the outcomes weren't coming as quickly, or people weren't feeding back to you, then of course, like you can go to that place. And so it's amazing to hear you share being on the other side of that. And kudos to you for doing that, and also for sharing that with the rest of us. It's powerful.
Thank you.
Yeah. And if I heard you correctly, actually one thing I want to hit on here is the curse of being someone who has such broad shoulders, meaning like taking on so much on your back, and then also infusing others with so much positivity and speaking out their best, is that person oftentimes gets forgotten in the process. And you were the one who got forgotten. You didn't have people coming to you to breathe more life back into you, and you weren't doing that for yourself. So what lesson have you learned? How are you going to do it differently from this point forward, Miko?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, I believe like I started getting into meditation. Like that was also a game changer for me. Like I knew from the beginning of this journey of mine, being an entrepreneur and going into my spiritual awakening journey, I knew meditation is powerful and a must tool. But I never actually put the effort to take that time for myself until while I was doing the summit, because I saw the value of it, and I saw the shift of the power of it is doing for me in terms of every aspect of my life. So I started meditating. And this is the tool that I really use to recharge and replug to the infinite source of like energy, abundance, like well-being. I know that, if I don't charge myself, like putting gasoline in a car, like I can I'm not going to function properly. So instead of trying to get these like encouragement, support from everyone else around me, I'm going to dive within and get that from the higher power. So when I started doing that, I just feel more rejuvenated, and I feel I have more energy to give to other people. So that's what I did. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, I know mindfulness is a part of my daily anchoring system to keep me, it's a part of my practice to keep me sane and to keep me connected. Because yeah, I'm playing a pretty big game in my life, and without it, right, I could just be one stimulus and response after another.
Yeah.
Okay. So talk to us about the process of reaching out to these accomplished individuals who you wanted to bring on as guests to your show. I suppose what would be really helpful would be knowing, um, how did you go about identifying these people, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was your process for reaching out? How many people did you have to reach out to get your 20 or 25 guests? And how, what was that all like? And you did it very quickly, so you must have had a system that worked well. Tell us about it.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I believe I have a spreadsheet where I track every individual that I reached out to. And I believe I have like almost 300 people that I send an email to.
Wow.
Yeah, so basically I just look them up online, Amazon, like any best-selling authors on topics that are in alignment with my summit. And then I go on their website, and then I try to look up their information, just send them an email. Obviously, at the beginning, I had more time. I was being more personalized with my message, but then as time goes on, I just like kept sending out those emails. And this is coaching.
Cut and paste. Yeah.
Well, I still like, want to make sure that it's personalized to each expert, that it shows that I did my research on them, so I know who I'm talking to. But yeah, these are all coaching that was provided to me by Shanda inside of her coaching, which is super powerful. But so the process of reaching out. So basically, we have to send them an email and hopefully get them on a phone call with us to really enroll them into our summit. Because I did that too with you. So basically, obviously, I have to see myself as the person that is, again, like I mentioned earlier, not someone inferior to these experts. Like I know that obviously, like they inspire me so much with all the powerful work that they're already doing, but I know that I'm on the same path. They might have gotten a head start ahead of me. They started building the businesses maybe a couple of years ahead of me. I might be a little bit late in the game, but I'm doing the same processes. I'm doing personal development. I'm being on the same path. So I knew that, I had the value to also give them. And this was a collaborative opportunity where they can also grow their audiences. So, I just really had to see myself from that perspective first before I reached out to the experts. So energetically, I wasn't like begging. I wasn't, pleading. So that was powerful. But in the middle of the summit, when I went into that depression kind of period, I started losing momentum in terms of getting the response back from the experts, because I know energetically I was sending out all these like desperate, needy vibes. So no experts answer me. But then again, when I make that transformation, taking care of myself, that's when I started picking up momentum again. And I also just build connection with experts. I continuously email you guys, letting you know how things are going. And I ask for referrals. Like that was a super powerful thing for me for the experts to connect me with people that they knew. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember you did that, and these like personal touches that you've had. I got your thank you card in the mail the other day. Right. And you've done an exceptional job in terms of your intentionality and your engagement with with people like me who spoke on your summit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's take another moment to go back to this period, the depression. And you were talking about just now how when you were trying to reach out during that time energetically, like you were putting out needy, desperate, and like you didn't get the response.
Mm-hmm.
What lessons have you learned, and what would you teach others about when you're in that space,
Mm-hmm.
of just downshifting and caring for yourself until it's time to, like, until you're in a place where you're rejuvenated, so that the energy that you are putting into your work, what is the lesson that you would have there? And how would you speak to someone who feels like, I don't have the luxury of going dark for 2 or 3 days? What, because I work, I don't have my own business or career. I have to go to work tomorrow. What would you say to those people?
Okay, so what lessons I've learned from that experience? So, one of the things that really guide me along the way, besides like my intuitive, the higher knowing, the deep knowing inside me, I also read every single day. Like, that helps me so much. And I feel like along my entire journey, the universe just drops me the right book at the right time, the right YouTube video at the right time, that gives me the answers that I need, or the motivation that I need. So Kyle Cease, The Illusion of Money, the book by Kyle Cease, is actually a huge game changer for me. Like, that was the book that really helped me on this journey. So I believe I was reading that, and I lost my train of thought. What was the question?
The question was the lesson that you learned about, like, going into this, when you went into the dip of depression.
Okay.
And like, how, what kind of guidance would you give to someone who tries to power through it, right?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I remember now. So basically what Kyle talks about is that, like, we are the source of everything that comes into our life, like our money, our success, our achievements. We are the source. And when I got that concept, everything changed for me, because, like I was saying to you earlier, I always feel like I was not good enough. I need to do more. It's always from this lack standpoint. There was just never not enough of everything. So that made perfect sense, because I didn't have self-love. I always, like, talk down on myself, and that completely reflected on my financial situation, my success in the summit. Everything was just not good enough, and reflected in the results of that. So what I did instead was just really filling up that void inside of me, that lack, and got the sense of completeness, wholeness, abundance, and well-being from everything else inside of me. Really shifting the perspective, shifting how I feel with the thoughts that I engage in. So really changing myself internally first with my energy, and then taking action after that, because I'm also a huge fan of Abraham Hicks.
Yeah.
I love Abraham Hicks. I listen to their teachings every single day, and they will always say that, we cannot. I lost my train of thoughts again.
Well, I'll tell you what, while you're refreshing your mind on that, is Abraham Hicks. I saw her, or them, live in person. And up until that point, there was a period of time where I was in a funk, and every morning I would put on Abraham Hicks for 15 to 20 minutes, put these big headphones on as I would walk around, make my coffee, get my morning routine set up. And it was inevitable over a period of time that once I stopped that inner negative narrative, the Abraham Hicks of launching the rockets of desire, and knowing, getting what you don't want, and helps you to know what you want. Like, it helped me to really kick up new energy, and then I'm back on track again. So I feel you.
Yes. Yeah, I'll come back to that if I remember.
Okay, it's all good. So yeah, no, it sounds like there've been some influences that came to you at the right place at the right time, right books and right inputs. And I think that's like been super important for anyone that I know who's really a high performer, is that we're going to find ourselves in these dips. And it's being really, really intentional around what are our inputs during that time. The food that we input, the music that we input, the inner narrative, our inner critic, like, that's an input that's there all the time. And the people, right, that you surround yourself by. So it's extra important during that period of time to care for yourself.
Yeah.
All right. So, okay, you've got your 20 to 25 speakers who have said yes. You're doing the interviews. And what was that process like for you? Now you're talking to all of these people who have dedicated their lives to a certain craft, and they all have amazing stories. What unexpected things did you learn during that process?
I'm so glad you asked this because I'm going to be, transparent about this process. It was actually really exhausting for me to hop on and interview all these people within like a very short frame of time. I believe that I'm someone who is an introvert and an extrovert. So like really getting on camera, like I love connecting with people, but at the same time, like I need a long time to just do nothing, get in bed with a book and to recharge, but really constantly like really interacting, being on camera. It was very exhausting.
Yeah.
But now looking back now, I realized that it didn't have to be that way. Like I was really seeing it more so as like a work I had to do. It was very being pushed by some sort of external motivation instead of driven by my internal desire to just like hop on a call with someone like you, get into your mind, just having genuine conversation. Like really it wasn't as genuine. I mean, it was genuine, but I feel like it could be more, really just coming from a standpoint where I'm just really talking to you. I want to know everything that you did, Dominick, and ask questions from that point. But it felt like work, and I was always like dreading to get out and like do the interviews. But now, and I also feel like I was so focused on me instead of focusing on the audience, like what people will get out of this interview. So this is also Shanda. I was listening to one of her coaching call last night in the morning, actually. She said that we feel overwhelmed only when we are focused on ourselves. But when we are focused on other people and what we are giving, then we will never feel overwhelmed. So like that really clicked for me, and I noticed like that was exactly what I was doing that made me feel stressed.
How would you say that you were focused more on yourself? How did that
Uh-huh.
show up?
Yeah, so I was like worried about how I would look on camera. I was not like super relaxed, like constantly thinking about like, okay, this is a question I have to ask my expert. Like constantly, I wasn't being as present as I would love to be with the experts and really being guided by inspiration, and more so like memorizing things, making sure I do everything perfectly. So it was just very, yeah, like that.
And I think it's so amazing that you're bringing this up, because I definitely remember when you were interviewing, like you had done your homework. There were a lot of prepared questions that you had, and there's a certain beauty to that, no question, right? Because like you honored me in a certain way by like going into my material. So there was that, but I also recognize that required a lot of work on your end.
Mhm.
And I know I do a lot of keynote speaking now, and
Mhm.
in my history, um, finding my way to stage and getting paid for it was a really painful process, because I was so afraid of not looking good, so afraid
Mhm.
of not having a memorable message, that I went to painstaking detail to write and memorize every word of a 60-minute speech. And inevitably, I'd get up on stage and I would do a great job and I'd get applauded for it. But the
Mhm.
payoff for like the weeks of agony and preparation, like it didn't equate. And I was like, there has to be a better way. And it sounds like you've made that determination too. And really the
Mhm.
fears were, at least in my world, and it sounds like you're quite similar, is if I look unprepared, if I look
Mhm.
bad, if this person thinks that like I'm not, if we're not equals, right? They think that
Mhm.
like I'm just like a fly by night interviewer, then I'll look bad, and I know what that feeling's like. And I've had to do a lot of work, Miko, on myself to get to a place where we're on this call right now.
Mhm.
The number one thing I did was I just knew the context that I wanted to set to have this interview with you. I thought through
Mhm.
some questions that I figured your audience would want to hear about. And the rest of it, we're just flowing right now.
Yeah.
And what that does is it allows me to even reach out to you with an offer like this, because it doesn't require any real work. All it does is actually it energizes me. So
Mhm.
I am so grateful to hear that you had the experience where you're like, this was exhausting. This is what I do like. Next time I do the next summit, which I know you've already
Yeah.
got planned, which we'll talk about in a
Yes.
second. So actually talk about the summit that you have planned, the next one, and how you're going to do this specific thing differently.
Yeah, super exciting. Even like before I go into the actual steps of launching the second summit, like I can really feel the energy. Like it just feels fired up inside of me. Like I'm so ready for this. And I already got like the techie stuff done. This wasn't done for my first summit. I would say like closer to the launch day of my summit actually, but like I already have all that tech stuff ready to go. I hire my VA. She's working on that right now, even before I actually book all my speakers. But I feel so excited because I completely shifted my mentality around running this second summit. The first one was more so like, okay, I gotta hit my numbers, I gotta book all these speakers, and really outcome driven. But this time, I take myself back in time to 2017, like who Miko was at that stage when she was lost, depressed, and stuck. Like, who was she? What kind of struggle was she going through? What kind of answers did she need? So I put myself back in time in that position. And now I'm really coming from that standpoint where I just want to know the answers. Like, how do I have more money? How do I have more time? And how do I get, a nice physical body so I can have the energy to do the things that I love, right? So it's really from a standpoint where I really just want to talk to these experts. Like I want the answers, and I know there are other people who will resonate with the same struggles, looking for the same answers. So really just focusing on my audience this time and thinking about like, what is it that they really would like to hear from the experts. And the way I approach the interviews now is like, it's a fun conversation. Like these people, and really just diving even deeper into the idea that, they're no better than me. And really on a spiritual level, like I see them more so as that divine being, that essence of who they are, no matter what their external success or achievements are. Like I just see, we connect on that level. I just see them, soul to soul, that divinity within us connecting. That really helps, I think, shift my energy too, in terms of how I'm going to be reaching out to these next batch of experts for my next summit. So, and what else am I going to do differently? Just really, and another thing that really changed for me this time around is that I already know that, knowing inside that I already know this is a successful summit. I already know that by the end of the launch of the second one, I am going to have massive momentum for my business. I already know all that is done. So there is no stress or overwhelm in terms of, is this going to work? Like, what's going to happen? I already know all the results or whatever is going to happen. My intention is being set, and I know the universe has delivered. So right now I'm just enjoying the process, having fun and being in the moment.
Which it sounds like is a total flip-flop of the first one, right? It's like the results are already on their way. You're being supported by that. And so it's really about enjoying the journey. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of people speak that way. Like we can hear that. You're living it, right? So, for someone who's listening to you right now, who hears your words, but has never felt the feeling that you've gotten, what would you tell them to do, or what guidance would you give them to say that they can end up in the place that you are right now by taking an inspired action of their own?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a lot of that, it's a process, it's a journey, like hitting the gym to build our muscles, our body's muscle. It's the same way with our mental muscle, our spiritual muscle. You have to do daily retraining of your belief system, the way that you think. That's a daily process, moment to moment process. So that's what I would highly recommend. Don't be hard on yourself if things don't happen right away. That was something I learned from myself too. And just know that you're always going to be growing and expanding. Like, you cannot get it wrong. It's like, if things happen that you don't like, then that's just a learning lesson, as cliche as that is. And that's what I would say to them. Mm-hmm.
It's awesome. So this new summit is going to be called Thrive in 2020.
Yes.
Yes. And so what are some of the categories of topics that you anticipate hitting?
Yeah, so the main three focus would be on having more time to do the things that we love and enjoy. So time freedom. The second one is how to make more money without like working more. So leverage income, different ways of building financial abundance. And then the last one would be about physical well-being, because I know to live a good life, to live the life that you love, it, it's all three components, like especially the physical well-being. If you don't have the energy, if you don't feel good, it's harder to have that creativity, that mental clarity to flow through. So
I love that. And I know you've been hitting the gym pretty hard because I've been following your social media recently. And so like
yeah,
you're definitely hitting the physical part of it. And I'm
yeah.
just curious, have you noticed any upgrades recently just by getting back into the gym?
Oh my gosh, yes. It's only been like a week, a little bit over a week since I decided to eat more clean, to hit the gym more often, actually working out at the gym and not just like strolling on the treadmill. And also doing a detox program. It's funny because everything changed for me after I came back from my cruise to Mexico, because I started that program while I was on the cruise by one of the personal trainer on there. But it's so crazy because before the cruise, let me tell you, Dominic, like I had so many bad eating habits. Like I would always go for the sweets, and then I would self-sabotage because I know it's not good for me, and I would like blame myself, like why did I do this? But then my body kept craving for these junk food, these sweets. So it just kind of go down that vicious cycle. And when we give our energy to that negativity, that drains our energy for better use, like creativity, inspiration, things like that. So yeah, for some reason I was able to just make a committed decision since that cruise. And then when I came back, I followed through and followed through the program. And it's crazy. My clarity, how I feel, my body, it just feels so much better. And that sends me like into a positive spiral and to like improving every other aspects of my life. Like because I've discipline in eating, discipline in working out, I have more discipline in like my meditation practice. So it's just, yeah, it's powerful.
I love hearing that. And
Yeah.
you're making me think of there's it's called the energy pyramid that the corporate athlete put
Mm-hmm.
together. So the corporate athlete is an institution in Florida, and they've
Mm-hmm.
helped all branches of the military and professional tennis players and number one athletes really like harness their energy. And the pyramid has four levels to it. The bottom level is the physical energy, and then it becomes emotional energy, and then mental energy. Top of the pyramid is spiritual energy. And
Mm-hmm.
spiritual energy is really like purpose driven energy, right? And physical energy, which is the bottom of the pyramid, the base of the pyramid, that represents the quantity of energy that you have.
Mm-hmm.
And the quantity of energy is really determined by the food you put into your body, the amount of sleep that you get, and the amount of working out that you do, the movement that you get, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what I find, because I work with a lot of really busy successful people, is that they let the physical thing go first, and then that shrinks. I guess the foundation that your mental and emotional and spiritual energy sit on top of, when that's not firing well, then emotionally people are much more, they're quick tempered, they're resentful, they're frustrated, they're tight and tense. Mentally they're scattered, they've lost sight of their spiritual connection and purpose. And so what I find oftentimes is the fastest way to get back into alignment is doing what you're talking about, is watching what goes into your body, getting the proper amount of sleep, which definitely gets pushed to the side way too often, and then movement. So like the strong, sturdy foundation and brain clarity as you go out throughout the day. I
Mm-hmm.
would, I would love to see this thrive for 2020. I would love to participate in listening to who you're going to be interviewing, because those are areas I'm
Mm-hmm.
really passionate about.
Oh, I love that so much. You said the energy pyramid?
It's called, yeah, I think it's called it's called the Four Dimensions of Energy.
Ah.
And if you were to, I think it's, if you were to Google corporate athlete by Johnson and
Mm.
Johnson, this is their institute. And you may even want to reach out to someone from there who could come on and like talk about it. Cause these are the people who like deal with some of the world's best athletes and
Oh,
business leaders
that's
on managing their energy.
that's a really good idea. Okay, I'm gonna take note.
So why don't we finish up here by just letting, like, I'm curious,
Mhm.
where is all this going with respect to your business now that you've spoken to all these people and you're helping guide so many others? Like, what is the future of your business?
Yeah, good question. So it's so powerful. This has been keep popping up lately in my meditation, morning meditation, that I just have this knowing, this vision. Like every time I close my eyes and connect with myself on that deeper level, I just see myself on stage in front of so many people. And I just see that everyone in the audience, this little light, that divine spark inside of them is just like lighting up and just brightening up the whole entire room, every single one of those people. And I'm on stage, like, I know that I have to embody that pure unconditional love first in order to inspire and, inspire that spark within the people listening to me, to also light up the fire, that divine spark inside of them. So that's like my ultimate vision, which I
Yeah.
already know it's done. So right now I'm just like really, putting in that work to get there. But for the next like year, immediate couple of steps or vision for myself in 2020 is that I also know I have this knowing that by the launch of the second summit in March, I know that again we will have so much momentum. I will have new clients enrolled into whatever programs and services that I will have ready by then. And then I set the intention that I'm going to be traveling maybe somewhere in Bali, stay there for a month because it's so cheap to stay out there. And I know as long as I can do remote work on my laptop, I can be anywhere across the globe. And something is calling me to go to Bali for a month or two. So maybe around April, that's where I see my next step, building my business there, connecting with different culture, continuing to maybe launch another summit, who knows? So that's what I see like the next immediate vision for my business. Yeah.
That is so exciting. And you better be posting from Bali because that place
Yes.
is paradise. I've been there and you're going to love it.
Oh, so excited.
That's a spot. Okay. So then how about we leave it here? Given everything that we've just talked about, Miko, and the path that you were
Mhm.
on, if there was one person in your audience right now that's listening to you that needs to hear something from you based on your journey, what
Mhm.
would you want them to know?
Oh, that's a good one. Okay. I would say that you just know that you have everything within you already, like all the happiness, all the success, all the money, the abundance, the well-being, that's all already inside of you. And it's only your responsibility to do whatever it takes to remember that connection, to take your power back. And it's really my dream and my desire to see each and every one of you to bring out that unique gift inside of you and let that spark shine onto other people who need you. I believe that there are a specific group of people that are only going to resonate with what you have to offer, what you have to teach. And those people are waiting for you to step into who you are, the divine purpose that you have, and they're waiting for you. So, don't wait any longer. Don't hold back anymore. There's really nothing to lose, nothing at all. So just go for it. Whatever is calling you, follow that trail of inspiration. And I'm really excited. Hopefully you guys join me on my summit because it's going to give you all like the guidelines, the how-tos, the game plans, the strategies on how to really improve these three areas of your life: your health, wealth, and time freedom. So if you join me, I would love to be a part of your journey. But if not, I'm always here rooting for all of you guys, and would just love to hear about like your success and everything that happens for you in 2020.
That's beautiful, Miko.
Yeah.
And thank you for all the work that you're doing. If I were a betting man, I would bet on you. And for everyone who's thinking about following you, I mean, this is someone that is doing the work. And if you can feel her, she's someone that if it really feels like is on the path, living it for the right reasons. And I mean, we need more people doing what you're doing out in this world. So keep on bringing keep on bringing the thunder and the sunshine.
And thank you, Dominic, so much. I cannot be here today without the help of people like you, people who have walked the path a little ahead, to really come back and offer your hand to help people like me. And I promise to do the same thing when I have the opportunity. I will always make sure to give my hand back to people a little bit, late in the journey to help them any way I can, because I'm inspired by people like you. So thank you, Dominic, and this has been super fun.
Thank you, Miko.